Tatsumaki is not messing around in this one, guys. Chapter 179 of the One Punch Man manga has just dropped, and we're finally getting what we've all been waiting for, which is of course the all-out battle between Saitama and Tatsumaki. And on top of that, without spoiling much at the beginning, we also get an update with the Tsukiyomi members that we saw Tatsumaki trapping in the chapter prior. And honestly, I have a feeling that they're going to be a major problem going forward in the story. But before we get into anything else, make sure to subscribe and turn those notifications on, because as you probably have already noticed, I'm more than likely one of the first guys to get a full One Punch Man chapter review as soon as the chapter drops, so I will definitely always have you covered. But alright, let's get into it. So this chapter actually starts off with a family driving towards the Hero Association in A City, where the mother says that she can't wait to get to their new home because they will no longer have to live in fear of the monsters. And of course, the new home that she's talking about is the new housing complexes at the Hero Association headquarters. And the father in the van responds by saying, "More monsters have been popping up lately. A 35-year loan is nothing compared to the safety that they'll have," which again is kind of touching on the theme that real safety in the One Punch Man world isn't guaranteed unless you're one of the elites, somebody that has a ton of money. And a family like this that doesn't seem to have a ton of money has to do crazy things like take out 35-year loans in order to feel some sort of safety. And as we've seen in the past couple chapters, not even that can protect anyone from random monster occurrences. Well, the kid in the van doesn't care about any of that. He just wants to see all the awesome monsters that are going to be at the Hero Association HQ. Well, we then cut back to Saitama and Tatsumaki, who are still hurtling through the air after Saitama blasted them both out of the ceiling of the Hero Association basement. And Saitama's still holding onto Tatsumaki, so she starts spinning him violently in order to get him to let her go. And at this point, she's getting really pissed off that he won't let her go. And his reasoning is that if he lets her go, she's going to run away. And this straight up sends her into a rage, because this is obviously kind of like insulting her, right? She's saying, why would she run against someone that's completely weaker than her? So Saitama's like, whatever, I'll let you go. And immediately, as soon as he does this, Tatsumaki flicks Saitama's forehead and sends him flying backwards, and admits that if she used a little bit more of her power, he probably won't die. So it's kind of like her way of acknowledging his strength. Well, she then starts using the rubble around her to create this enormous psychic tornado with massive rocks spiraling around it that she'll then use to fling at Saitama. But of course, in the face of all this, Saitama just says, oh, you know, this could be fun, right? Well, before we can get back to them, we actually cut to the Hero Association base where Tatsumaki trapped the Tsukiyomi members in that rock cylinder. Well, the cylinder crumbles and it turns out that there's actually a hole under it, meaning that the two Tsukiyomi members managed to dig their way out and get to the car that got them there in the first place and make a quick escape. Well, as they're driving off, we see that the one that got punctured in the eye by the poison needle that Tatsumaki removed from Fubuki's body injects himself with some sort of antidote, I'm assuming. And to my understanding, we might get a name on this guy finally, which is Apollo. Now, we don't have English translations just yet, but I tried translating this as best as I could, and the name that I got is Apollo. So don't take my word for it, wait for the English translations to come out, but that does seem to be what his name is. As they're driving away, they actually notice the huge commotion that Tatsumaki and Saitama are causing with the huge tornado behind them, and that leads Apollo, or the white-haired Tsukiyomi member, to say something along the lines that this is not the last time that Tatsumaki is going to see him. He is going to get his revenge. You know, the classic villain escape line, and that's the last time we see them in this chapter. So rest assured, we're probably going to get much more of them later on. Maybe not in this arc, but at some point in the story, because it does seem like they have a pretty big importance going forward. But we cut back to the Tatsumaki tornado, and we see that she's flinging rock after rock at Saitama, and he's just casually flicking them away. Well, as some of you guys probably already noticed, this whole commotion is going on pretty closely to the Hero Association. So the Hero Association employees start freaking out that there's some huge monster attack going on outside of the base or something, not knowing that it's actually Tatsumaki and Saitama. Well, in the midst of all this, the family that was traveling to A City in the beginning of the chapter actually comes across this fight, and the kid has some binoculars and he's like straight up amazed at what's going on. He notices that it's Tatsumaki doing this and wants to get closer to see the fight, but of course the parents just want to get the hell out of there, because if it's an S-class hero fighting somebody, it's probably a pretty serious situation. Well, it turns out they had the right idea, because one of the loose rocks that was coming from the tornado that Tatsumaki created heads straight toward the family's car, but Saitama actually manages to get in front of it and break it into pieces before it can hit the car. So then Saitama says to Tatsumaki, like, hey, watch out, that's dangerous, just flinging rocks around like that. And she's just like, whatever, I don't care, pretty much, and hurls even more of them at Saitama. Well, he starts deflecting them pretty easily, of course, but one of the rocks that he deflects again starts heading towards the car with the family in it. So Saitama literally speeds up to the point where he's almost catching up to the rock that he deflected, but before he can get to the car itself, Tatsumaki actually picks it up first and kind of mocks him with the same line that he threw at her, saying like, oh, don't you know that flinging rocks like that is dangerous? And of course she makes fun of him for being bald. So then Saitama kind of comes back at her by making fun of her height, and this pisses her off even more. Well, the psychic tornado continues and gets even stronger as she flings an endless amount of debris at Saitama, who's just again casually dodging it all. They kind of share some words back and forth, and this is actually where the chapter ends. It seems like so far this fight is going to be a 1-for-1 copy of the webcomic version of this fight, with of course some additional Murata buffing to it, you know, giving it a little bit more flair, which I totally love. I'm very excited to see where the rest of this fight goes, because it will most certainly get even more intense from here. But what did you guys think of this chapter? How do you guys think the beginning of Saitama versus Tatsumaki is going? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. I'm very curious to know what your thoughts are. Are you as excited as I am? But that does it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful day, and this video just made it a little bit better, and I'll see you guys in the next one.